Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Tonight, very exciting show. My former colleague in the 27th, 28th Guam legislature. I wish he was there in the 29th as well. But now, man, Port Authority of Guam is the latest. Joanne Brown, General Manager. Congratulations on your appointment and confirmation. I think.
Well, thank you. Like I said, this wasn't something on my Christmas list, but here I am.
No, it's great to see you down there, and they couldn't have gotten a better person. Actually, you were up. You did a fantastic job while you were at DPW. The challenges that you had, and if someone can face these challenges and go at it, with all gusto, it's a person like yourself. And so, yeah, if I was governor, I would have chosen you too as well. Maybe I'll have you next to me to take all the shots, right? But anyway, because you're good at that as well. But anyway, Joanne, let's go back to this. I would think, was it a week and a half, almost 2 weeks?
A couple of weeks
ago.
Yeah.
The legislature called an informational gathering meeting, basically.
So it was advertised as such. Yeah.
Okay, and you were sworn in. So, I didn't swear you in. So after the show, I'm sorry to be retro back to this. Anyway, the informational meeting in regards to the port modernization. But let's go back a few years, okay?
Okay.
When yourself, Speaker Mpinko,
sure.
Myself, BJ Cruz,
yes.
Wasn't Speaker at the time, but Speaker Wampat.
Yes.
Okay. A couple other mayors, Mayor San Nicolas, I think it is.
Yes, Mayor San Nicolas from
Mayor Savard.
Tayama, and Mayor Tayama.
Okay.
Yes, from Agate.
From
yes.
Agate. Okay. Well,
and Lieutenant Governor Kaleo Moylan.
Lieutenant Governor Lieutenant Moylan. That's right. That's right. We had gone to Okinawa because of the fact that ongoing negotiations
sure.
bilateral negotiations between the U.S. and Japan in regards to the military buildup. We were talking about tons of military,
yes.
and we didn't know what the heck was going on.
An expectation that we were going to incredibly be overwhelmed overnight.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. One of the things we came up with, and we looked at their infrastructure.
Yes.
We saw how their national government, basically relative to our federal government,
yes.
how they funded projects based on their needs, based on a buildup,
right.
and they got the funding.
Right.
So we looked at that.
Well, don't forget, remember how they did the rehabilitation of the former base and they turned that into an economic center.
That's right.
That was quite impressive.
That's right.
To go
and continues to do that.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
they continues to do that. So fast track now, we saw what we needed to do, or we had an idea on what we needed to do. One of the things, basically, when we came back, and of course, it was a done deal. General Bice was the guy that was appointed out here. One of the main things they said was the big choke point in this buildup will be the port.
Right.
And so there was one bill after another that was crafted. How do we get this port going, and this and that, and of course the dredging and all that. So and we went through that. Okay. And so here we are today. There's some money for modernization of the port. Obviously, from what we experienced or what we had gone through, has changed drastically.
Yes, it has.
Over the years. But one of the things they wanted to try to find out that you guys had a lot of money and apparently you're not doing anything with it.
So that's what some people say.
It's
very easy to sit back, and be the armchair quarterback and say, well, nothing is happening.
Sure.
And we've heard those generalized statements. But, in a very short time I've been at the port, and I'm the newest kid on the block, so to speak. I'm the last person the Port Authority of Guam has hired. There's a lot of things happening at the port, and I think in spite of challenging issues that we're having to deal with, I mean, you need to keep in mind that cargo is moving every single day. Those ships are coming in, those tourists are coming in and visiting, and the port overall is progressing. I mean, we're able to move additional containers. It used to be an average of 17 containers per hour, and that's been increased to 24, which is a considerable improvement for the port. The port just recently was able to purchase the cranes, the Pola cranes, the 3 Pola cranes that now the port is able to operate and manage, which has made a considerable difference in overall operations for the port.
You guys have been chastised for that as well, in the cranes that you...
Well, the irony of it all is looking back at the legislation. I mean, the legislature actually passed legislation. I'm dumbfounded by some of this sometimes, especially now, being a few years out of the Guam legislature, looking at what the heck is going on, wondering sometimes why things happen. But they actually legislated the requirement of the port to be able to acquire that capacity. And while there's been debates on whether or not it's a great idea, I mean, the reality was those ports were, that equipment was already there at the port. We didn't have to worry about transporting it. they're not brand new cranes, but
Sure.
at the same time, you know, we're not having to pay for brand new cranes because it's a very expensive
Sure, sure.
price tag attached to that. And like I said, the day-to-day operations are you know, happening every single day. Everything we touch, feel, hold, you know, comes in. 90% of all that comes in through the Port of Guam. And in spite of issues, you know, the port and a lot of the men and women there work very hard every day to do what they do, and I think that needs to be recognized. I think, unfortunately, you know, criticism and negativity, you know, rises to the surface. That's what we all want to focus and all want to talk about. But I think the future of the port is bright, and these projects are moving forward in spite of all the other nonsense that's going on.
Absolutely, and based again just on natural growth of the island here.
Yes.
It needs to be modernized.
Sure.
You guys are moving on that. Obviously, there were probably keywords they were looking for to satisfy their palate, basically, on what the money is doing. What exactly has gone on?
Well, I think overall in late January we actually had the groundbreaking for the CFS building. Later this year we're going to actually see the demolition of Warehouse 2. And for anyone who has any familiarity down there, and for those that don't, I mean, Warehouse 2 is a sizable, it's a sizable building. It's a very solid structure that was built back in the late 60s in order to address the expansion of wharf activities, the unloading of cargo, particularly our break bulk cargo. That particular building has to be demolished. It'd be nice if they could simply implode it. It would happen very quickly, but of course there's concerns about whether or not the pier will remain stable. We certainly don't want to see the building and everything else go. So we're actually going to have to take it down a piece at a time, and that's going to impact port operations because that section of the wharf will not be readily accessible for use. And you know, you'd like to think the port is really a huge facility, and it's sizable. But you know, to be able to do those type of operations, and then also bring in, you know, the cargo, bring in the passenger ships that come in. The fact that Gantry 2 also later this year will have to address how to disassemble that quite sizable piece of equipment. And also do that while we still maintain operations. So it's going to be a very delicate process in the months ahead to maintain operations and also address those upgrades. The wonderful thing in taking down Warehouse 2, it will expand the yard for break bulk material that's coming in, so that would be wonderful. In addition to that, I mean, they finished the design pretty much for the rest of the yard. We're going to expand another 4.6 acres. We're going to have a new gateway into the port. Right now, when you go to the existing port gate, I mean, I've watched this every day now that I drive down there. You have trucks that have to make a stop in the center lane and a very sharp turn right into the facility. And the future design, or what will actually be constructed there, would be a much more, I guess, entryway that will be more expeditious for them, more comfortable for them to turn into. So there's going to be that expansion. It's going to move forward. There's some additional work of testing, obviously, going to have to be done on that property to make sure there's no contaminants. If there is, certainly we have to address how we're going to mitigate that, what the price tag of that will be. We're not going to know until those assessments are done.
I tell you what, hold on to more of that thought and talk more about modernization when we come back from break. Be right back.